The seasons are shifting, and with that, comes a time of renewal in the garden. Today, we're not just refreshing the space, we're transforming it. Whether you're someone who cherishes the vibrancy of evergreens or you're intrigued by the grandeur of large-scale installations, you're in for something truly special. Let's take a walk through the garden, as we embark on swapping out the Hartley pots and introduce a majestic centerpiece, the grand Austrian pine. Preparing for the seasonal shift as the cooler months approach, every gardener knows it's time to reassess the balance of color and structure in the garden. Here in the Hartley pots, our evergreens have served us beautifully through the year. Their deep green hues have provided a constant sense of life even during the colder seasons. But now, it's time for something different. Why swap out the evergreens, you might ask? It's all about ensuring that the garden feels fresh and dynamic as we transition into this new season. Evergreens are wonderful, but they can also become visually stagnant if left unchecked year after year. By rotating the plants in the Hartley pots, we create a fresh narrative, a story that evolves with the garden's natural rhythm. As we begin, it's important to carefully plan out the changes. The goal is not just to remove the evergreens and replace them with something new, but to think strategically about the impact of scale, color, and structure. The key to a successful transformation lies in balance, making sure each plant complements the surrounding environment while still standing out as an individual piece of the puzzle. Saying goodbye to the evergreens, we start by gently removing the evergreens from their containers. This process requires a delicate touch. The roots have likely established themselves over the past months, intertwining with the soil and creating a stable foundation. Rather than yanking them out, we work slowly, loosening the soil around the base with a hand trowel to avoid damaging the roots. This part of gardening always feels a little bittersweet. There's a bond formed between the gardener and the plants that have been tended to so carefully. But the excitement of what's to come helps ease that goodbye. As we lift each evergreen out of the pot, we examine the root systems. Healthy roots tell the story of a plant that has thrived in its environment. It's always a good idea to check for any signs of stress or disease. Fortunately, these evergreens are in perfect shape, meaning we can replant them in another part of the garden or even pass them on to fellow gardeners. The pots are now empty, and it's time to start fresh. But before moving forward, we must clean and prepare the containers. Over time, pots can accumulate dirt and salts from water and fertilizer, so it's crucial to clean them thoroughly. Choosing new plant life for the Hartley pots with the evergreens removed, the next step is selecting the new plants for the Hartley pots. The beauty of gardening lies in the endless possibilities. This time, we're opting for a mix of seasonal perennials and a few ornamental grasses that will add texture and movement. Perennials are a great choice because they'll continue to bloom year after year, while the grasses provide a light, feathery contrast to the more structured forms of the plants around them. One of the key aspects to consider here is color. We're moving into the cooler months, so we're focusing on rich, warm tones, burgundies, purples, and deep greens that reflect the transition into autumn and winter. These colors not only add warmth but also provide a striking contrast to the brighter, lighter greens of the rest of the garden. We've selected a few key plants, including Heuchera with its beautifully textured leaves, and a couple of compact sedges that will spill over the sides of the pots, adding softness to the otherwise structured container designs. Planting in the Hartley pots now, it's time to get planting. First, we add fresh soil to each pot. It's important to use high-quality potting mix to ensure that the plants have access to the nutrients they need. The soil we're using is rich and loamy, with excellent drainage to prevent water from sitting too long in the pots. As we position each plant in its new home, we make sure to arrange them in a way that feels natural yet intentional. The taller plants, such as the ornamental grasses, go toward the back of the pots, while the shorter plants are placed toward the front and sides to create layers of height and depth. This layering technique is a great way to add visual interest to container gardens, especially when you're working with limited space. After everything is planted, we water each pot thoroughly to help the plants settle in. There's something incredibly satisfying about watching the water seep into the soil, knowing that these plants are about to embark on their own journey in the garden. The majesty of the Austrian pine installation with the heartleaf pots refreshed, it's time to turn our attention to the star of today's transformation, the installation of a large Austrian pine. This is no ordinary tree. The Austrian pine is known for its robust structure, dark green needles, and ability to thrive in a wide range of environments. It's the perfect choice for creating a statement in the garden. The area we've selected for the Austrian pine is located at the edge of the garden, where it will serve as both a focal point and a natural barrier. This tree is going to anchor the space, drawing the eye and creating a sense of grandeur that complements the more delicate plants around it. Planting a tree of this size is no small task. We've prepared the ground well in advance, digging a hole that's wide and deep enough to accommodate the tree's root ball. The key to success here is ensuring that the tree has plenty of room to spread its roots, allowing it to establish itself quickly in its new environment. As we carefully lower the Austrian pine into the hole, it's important to make sure the tree is perfectly vertical. A crooked tree can lead to issues down the line, so we take our time to get it right. Once the tree is in place, we backfill the hole with a mix of soil and compost, ensuring that the roots have plenty of nutrients to draw from as the tree settles in. Caring for the new installations with both the heartleaf pots and the Austrian pine installation complete, the focus now shifts to aftercare. Newly planted trees and plants need a little extra attention to help them establish themselves. For the next few weeks, we'll be watering the tree deeply once a week, making sure that the water reaches the roots. Deep watering encourages the roots to grow downward, creating a strong foundation for the tree. The plants in the heartleaf pots will also need regular care, though they require more frequent watering since containers tend to dry out more quickly than garden beds. We'll also be monitoring them for signs of stress or disease, making sure they're thriving in their new homes. The impact on the overall garden design as we step back and take a look at the garden as a whole, the impact of today's work is undeniable. The refreshed heartleaf pots bring a new sense of vibrancy to the space, while the Austrian pine stands tall and proud, adding a sense of permanence and stability to the garden. One of the joys of gardening is watching how each element interacts with the others. The interplay between the soft, flowing grasses in the pots and the strong, towering presence of the Austrian pine creates a balance that feels both harmonious and dynamic. It's a reminder that a garden is never truly finished. It's always evolving, always changing, and always offering something new to discover. Reflections on the day's work as the day draws to a close, there's a deep sense of satisfaction that comes from a job well done. Gardening is hard work, but it's also incredibly rewarding. There's something deeply fulfilling about transforming a space with your own two hands, watching as the garden takes on new life and new energy. The garden, much like life, is a reflection of the care and attention we give it. Each plant, each tree, each pot tells a story of growth, of change, of renewal. And as we continue to nurture this space, we're reminded of the beauty that comes from patience, persistence, and a love for the natural world. Looking ahead as we move forward into the next season, the garden will continue to change. The Austrian pine will grow taller, the plants in the heartleaf pots will bloom and flourish, and the garden as a whole will continue to evolve. There will be new challenges to face and new opportunities to embrace. But one thing is certain: this space will always be a source of joy, inspiration, and peace. And with that, we come to the end of today's journey. Thank you for joining me as we swapped out the evergreens in the heartleaf pots and installed the magnificent Austrian pine. This garden is a living, breathing work of art, and I can't wait to see how it continues to grow and change in the months and years to come.